any kind of community.
Sorry.
No problem. So any kind of group. So also we've got presentations that we do to youth groups, to as young as kindergarten groups. So we could expand your reach by talking to schools who are in your areas. It's another tool that you can have in your hip pocket. And we have a really enthusiastic, well trained, experienced group of presenters, including some folks from AmeriCorps, volunteers in the area, and so I think that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to get across, that just that we have these presentations that can be shaped to your needs and might be able to help you expand your audience a little bit, or maybe give you a break if you need a break from kind of the general routine of your meetings. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Don. Appreciate that announcement. Any other member announcements that have not already been heard? All right, just for those of you that just jumped on, I want to welcome you. I see you jumped on, Chief Weisgerber, and also Tara, saw you jump on, and a few others that are still connecting. As you connect, the roll call will automatically fold you in electronically, so no need to worry on that. So if that's all for member announcements, we'll go on to the coordinator report, please.
Okay, how does that landscape view look to everyone? Can you guys all see that, or is it too small, too big?
Looks good.
Is that better?
Better.
That's better.
All right. Heather, do you want to go through this, or would you like me to do it?
I can say hi to everybody, and hopefully you can hear me. How's that sounding? Should I turn off my video?
Okay, so far.
Okay. Yeah, just stop me if I start to break up, kind of coming in from a different place today. So yeah, and I know I see Christopher is on the line, so he can chime in on Solano. I'll just go over our event description, which we've got the Yolo County Fire Safe Council meeting tonight, but we will be talking later on the agenda about when to have our November meeting. And then you see our other community fire safe council meetings that are coming up. Hopefully we are getting those accurate. It looks like some of them still need verification, West Winters and Pleasants Valley. So if anyone on the line wants to verify those, go ahead and chime in. November 8th for Pleasants Valley and November 15th for West Winters, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct for the Pleasants Valley. November 8th at the Cloth Carousel in Vacaville at 6 p.m.
For the West Winters,
Okay,
we are still in the process of setting that up, but that's a good target.
Okay, and then giving everyone here an update on the community wildfire protection plan. Not a whole lot has changed in the last month, I don't think. We did take a pause in meeting, the steering committee meeting, and I know that's something that Tawny's going to be talking about tonight, getting that back on the calendar. The wildfire risk assessments complete, which is notable. Everything's kind of happening at once. One of the things that is part of a CWPP is prioritizing the projects. Well, we all know there is all this funding coming down the pike that we need to start prioritizing now. So, there'll be that process, and then, those projects may get done before the CP gets completed. So there'll be, this is an iterative process, just to remind everybody. And the CWPP is just going to be this ongoing process for now. It's scheduled to it's scheduled to be completed December of next year. But of course, we're already talking projects and we're already talking prioritization. So I can imagine that will, what ends up going in the official CWPP, what we're talking about now, some of those projects may be done by the time this next year rolls around. So there, I guess I just pull that piece out and know that something may get done. We'll be prioritizing things for maybe the long haul in the next few years, looking into 2023, for example, if that makes any sense. Let's see, I think you can keep going there. Most of that's been the same. In terms of project funding tracker, the only thing that came up this last month, ooh, it's moving around. Let's see. I think if you scroll back a touch, Tanya. Okay. All these things have been the same since the last time we met, except for I'm looking for the DOC, sorry, the California Fire Safe Council proposal that we wrote.
That's down at the bottom here.
I'm sorry, here's the bottom. You already knew that. I'm catching up to you. Okay. So the Office of Emergencies, this is the second line to the bottom, Office of Emergency Services, and actually the Yolo County RCD put in something together, funding for a county coordinator. It's basically, we decided to work with the Fire Safe Council and put together a proposal for funding support for this coordination team that Tanya and I at the RCD have been working on with OES. To kind of build out more support since there are so much to happen all at once. So we asked for funding. It's a $175,000 grant for 18 months. It's meant to build up capacity to get this, to help support this Fire Safe Council work. And that's going to be grant writing support for the Fire Safe Council, website development for the Fire Safe Council, and all these things that we really would like to have happen quickly to be able to support that process. So that's the big one for us. And I'll turn it over to Chris, if you would like to talk about what you guys are doing in Solano.
Hi everyone, Chris Rose, Solano Resource Conservation District. We actually have similar grants as far as Yolo. We did them as partners, the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service grant, as well as the Department of Conservation RFFP, or the regional project. One difference is that we applied with the county OES in Solano County for a CAL FIRE prevention, fire prevention grant, which Yolo got a year back or more. And we were successful in getting not 1.2 million, but we think 900,000, which is still pretty great. And as it says there, for evacuation software, working with partners to create a CWPP and then also support fire safe councils. So that's going to be our focus for pretty soon. But we've been on hold. We were working on these several grants, quite a way back, and we thought we would be rolling by now. We're actually hiring a person. We have a job description announcement out for a position to lead our fire efforts, or at least a large part of their position, as well as the county. Actually, OES has a countywide, actually just applied for a countywide position, and they're hoping to get a position as well. With the idea is that we can all work together in Solano County with Yolo County as this big group and get a lot done. Also, just real briefly, at Solano County, we've been working on an MOU between OES, the county, and at Solano County and the RCD for how we're going to work together, what we're going to do, and how that's going to go down. And then also planning, making lists of folks that are going to be on the countywide Fire Safe Council committee has started several weeks ago, and we keep pushing back the date of our kickoff meeting. But hopefully this late fall, winter, we'll have our first countywide Fire Safe Council meeting. I will also say lastly that it seems we have a number of fire safe councils that are starting. Green Valley is well established. It's been going for a couple of years. And then the Pleasance Valley Fire Safe Council with Rose Laval here on the call has done a bang up job, really leading the effort and bringing a bunch of other fire safe councils on board and training them. And it's been kind of a nexus for other fire safe councils to get going. So she could be congratulated on that effort. So I don't know if it's a trend, but it seems like the Solano Fire Safe Council meetings tend to end up at breweries. That's where the meetings tend to go. And I think that's a trend that we're trying to promote. But there are a few people on the call that are heading up other fire safe councils that are starting, such as North Pleasance Valley and Olive School Lane and a few others that are starting. So there's a lot of cool action going on and good action going on as far as fire safe council staff.
Chris, did you guys also apply for a county coordinator grant from the state fire safe council?
Yes, we did not, but the county
did. Okay.
The county did. So I mean, I worked with them a little bit, but they took the lead on that. I've been working with the county pretty closely on all of this. So the idea is we're doing a lot of the background work so that when we really start going, we're going to have a bunch of things in place, hopefully. But yeah, they applied for that. So the idea is that the RCD person and the OES person will be able to work together in concert, working on technical visits, workshops, demonstration projects, fire safe council facilitation, all of that. We also have, I think Tracy Kellerman's on the line. She's a great consultant that I hope to be able to utilize on the project with her experience. So yeah, just kind of chomping at the bit to get moving.
Great. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up to the agenda.
It looks like Ron Turner, do you have a question?
Yeah, sure do. Hey, Chris, are you having separate meetings there in Solano County for those smaller fire safe councils to come together, or how do you track them?
We don't have collars on anybody or leg bracelets of any kind. But right now, we're tracking them through phone calls and meeting at breweries and that sort of thing. And really, like I said, Rose Laval and the Pleasance Valley Fire Safe Council really has been that place where they're coming out of. So trying to just offer as much assistance and help as possible. And also trying to contact people and give them resources as much as we can. And I will again say that Rose has been instrumental in giving people information, and also Rochelle Sherlock from Green Valley has also been instrumental in giving that information. So we're in that spot where we're offering help, but we're not actually pushing or telling them what to do, but facilitating however we can. Tomorrow, actually at an undisclosed location that I may have mentioned earlier in this conversation, there is the Fire Safe Council meeting in North Pleasance Valley at 5 p.m. So I think there's also several groups calling themselves the North Pleasance Valley group. So we may have a little Sharks and Jets situation on our hands out at Barris Brewing fighting over that name, but we'll see.
Okay, I'll send you a text later on just to try to get out where I could meet some of these different fire safe council groups and let them know what we have to offer. That's all.
Great. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Tanya, is that the end of the coordinator report? It's dropped off the screen, so.
Yeah, it's like we can see everybody. If there's no more questions, then we can move on to our next item.
All right, that sounds great. All right, so we have Damon Snow from Yochidee Fire Department that's going to give us a presentation on rural residential addresses and neighbor databases. Damon. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Chief. So hold on real quick.
While Damon gets started, I just want to remind folks, if you don't have your agency name after your name, that would be great if you could add it. That helps us with roll taking.
All right, everybody can see the screen, hopefully.
Yes, if you could change it to full screen, change your display settings.
Not a problem. How about now?
There we go.
All right. So what we're always talking about, obviously, project allocation, trying to figure out exactly where those shovel-ready projects lie. Obviously, as we come up against these deadlines and in relative short order, we're going to start prioritizing those kind of projects. You know, the key of it is of course trying to grab that low-hanging fruit wherever we possibly can. So one of the real quick down and dirty ones, and not only is it fiscally responsible, it's really economical, but it also is fast to get into operation. And most municipalities obviously have done this, but just driving in Yolo County alone, not only the rural portions of Yolo County, but also throughout Yolo County, there's still quite a few areas that still don't have addresses, reflective address signs. So the question that always comes to mind is, you know, where is our access point? Can we easily find these first responders and find these locations of these homes and these calls? There's a vast majority of people on this call right now that you know, can vouch for me. Is I can't tell you how many times that we've been out on these calls for service, and we can't know necessarily where that call is. So, and then even of course, it amplifies it significantly by how's the weather? Is it night? Is it during inclement weather? We just had the atmospheric river that just came through, and you know, how influential would it have been for something as simple as maybe potentially an $18 sign to know exactly where that call is actually being had and get to those locations. And then also the time delay component that we always have to talk about too. We're in seconds count. When I was originally going through paramedic school, we always used to constantly say, time is tissue. And that's exactly the case. Every single second we have a delay impacts the family or whoever's responding to these calls. So, and this gives you a basic infographic. A lot of materials are obviously available. The code recommends a 4-inch sign that's there, and then for those max distances. And if you look, I mean, a fire apparatus traveling 55 miles an hour, that's 80 feet per second of vehicle travel. So it doesn't take long for that fire engine to eat up quite a bit of distance. So by taking up that 400 feet, if we slow down, that also requires time. And with those reflective signs, they do make a huge impact to the local economy. And it's very economical, very easy to do. They actually have packages that are available, a quick Google search. You can find all the information that you folks need to create a package in a format that any local association, volunteer fire agency, even full-time fire departments could be out there with boots on the ground creating these. Back in the 2000s, I actually created the program for the small community of Wilton and assisted them through this process. Now, initially, it was very economical. I think we started out with somewhere around the neighborhood of 50 signs, just enough to have that material, and we kind of definitely grew from there. So it's always paramount to kind of pick these low-hanging fruit on these signs and these address locations. And this is a big hit point here is on critical timeframes. For bystander CPR not provided for, that sudden cardiac arrest victim, those chances of survival drop significantly. So every second counts, and especially even on the fire side with modern home construction that we have currently instead of the legacy home construction. The modern home construction has a lot of plastics, a lot of BTUs or energy release now continuously. So this is a perfect opportunity for having every second counts. And within 3.5 minutes, that temperature inside that structure can get well over exceeding 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So having this location, these address signs, I went ahead and did a quick Google search not that long ago. And even on Amazon, you can buy this entire kit that you can build at your house for less than 18 bucks. A furnished kit is somewhere in the neighborhood of $26. If local agencies and associations, fire safe councils, obviously get the funding component, you can go ahead and build these signs in relatively short order and be very successful for boots on the ground project. So And then of course, inevitably, it comes into mind is one side or two, which is the preferred placement. So you always want to have these signs approximately anywhere from a 5 foot to 10 foot setback on the individual properties. And then also making sure that you have visibility on both sides. So coming and going. And they make it really easy. They even cut holes into the signs themselves so you can attach it to a 4x4 post, to your individual mailbox and different locations if need be. But it gives you a huge visibility that those first responders need. And then of course, with colors, you know, most municipalities will recommend the green or blue, just an FYI for everybody. The green has a tendency to kind of stand out in better contrast, especially when it comes into the fog and raining conditions. And then of course you have the ability to do a horizontal or vertical mounting surface too. And that's kind of it for the signs. The signs themselves, like I said, they have package deals that are available that you could easily go ahead and scale it up from there. It could be something as simple as 50 signs all the way up to several thousand signs. Obviously, the more you buy in bulk, the cheaper that price point goes down. But pound for pound, I've seen in the past when I was working with the small Wilton Association, we were able to do some really high-end custom signs with very little impact to operations, just doing it on our hours off duty. And we were being able to be very successful, and they're very durable. They'll last, you know, several years in direct sunlight. So one of the other programs that we use at Yoshida Fire, as well as throughout the Yolo County, is Active 911. There's also Pulse Point. One of the ones that we were really successful with, obviously, is implementing Active 911. And what you're seeing right here on this display is the display that we have in our fire station. So this will actually give you response information. It'll give you route finding. And the program itself doesn't cost very much. The program itself costs somewhere in the neighborhood of $18 per month, or excuse me, per year per device. It also allows you to put active 911 markers. So for instance, as you see on your screen, we can put address information. We can put needs and assistance and evacuation points. Does it, the particular homeowner have a generator or a private well system so that if we had a power shutoff, they're going to need water? How many animals, heads of stock do they have? Do they have capability for trailering? This is a great opportunity to get with Yolo Sheriff as well as with Dana Carey's office to figure out exactly how many additional trailers do they need if they activated an individual zone for evacuation purposes. We can input gate codes. We can input access points. All this stuff is really secure and robust and easy to use for the end user. Plus the fact that the price point is extremely cheap on this. Implementation doesn't take very long as well. We went into the Esparto area and mapped all their fire hydrants. And we did this in less than a week's time, mapped all the GPS points. And so it pops up, and we can also share licenses between fire departments as well as other municipalities so that they can have that additional information as well. And then of course, like anything, it has the ability to not only put on maps, it has the ability to do PDFs. It allows you to take pictures of locations. Very user-friendly, very functional system that's in place currently that we use and be very successful. One of the other programs that we use that we've had really great success is through our dispatch system using our mobile data terminals and our fire equipment. We put it in the notes section. Anytime that we have a specific individual that asks us, we put in some additional information, like for instance, gate codes, access points, like what we were talking about with the Active 911 system, but we also have this in here so that if we have repeat customers to service, we know exactly how to get to them if they're non-ambulatory or they need additional assistance. Cwpp Valley is doing an amazing job right now. Cwpp Valley Fire Department as well as Sierra, they're actually in a beta test. So they're performing a quick breakdown to see. There's going to be an online survey relatively soon. And it's going to be just asking to see how comfortable everybody is with an online survey. If they would be willing to participate, giving additional information to see how many people, how many citizens were within these locations that would be needing additional assistance if we had a power shutoff, if we had a flood, if we had a fire. So you should be able to see something like that coming in relatively soon. One other great success that we've had, and we still continually have every single year, is when the tribe does the fireworks show, we send out the special pricing from US Postal Service. It's a direct mailing service. And so it's every door direct mail. And it's basically a flat fee mailer that you can send out. Now you can also put a QR code, you can put access points information on there, and this could easily get disseminated out to anybody that actually has an address within your municipality. And it can be a great reference tool to be able to get out that information, as well as to your public. Like for instance, you could have this at grocery stores, at gas stations, and people can grab these bits of information and immediately fill them out, send them back over to the fire department. And then now we keep a repository of that information, which we could obviously continually update on a yearly basis, just to see how many people would be willing to participate in programs such as this. So, and that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, Damien. Brad from Winners. Hey, great presentation. I think you hit the nail on the head of low-hanging fruit, and we share similar experiences throughout the county with addressing that makes it very difficult for our first responders to respond to and find the correct location and get there in a timely fashion, which is what our goal is. But a great, I think a great opportunity there. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Hey, Damon, Jesse from Cwpp Valley Fire. I just wanted to say that, Active 911 seems like it's pretty specifically tailored toward people in emergency services, but it's a really great thing for community organizations like fire safe councils to, find out what kind of capacity their responders have, and if they can provide any assistance with getting their friends, neighbors, community members to provide that information. It's just a huge help to the responders.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's nice about it too is obviously it is predominantly for Active 911s geared towards first responders, but you could instantly set up a program such as this and reach out to the local fire department. And within, as fast as I'm talking to you right now, we could put in that information at your fingertips, and all personnel within your fire department, within your first responder network has it available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it really is important to have programs such as this, and technology is improving continuously. Before you know it, we're going to have even better technologies that are out there. But of course, you always got to figure out exactly how secure is it, how safe is it. We don't want to have too much information out there in case this information ever got corrupted. But with the same token, if you're providing information that could be invaluable to save time and energy throughout your community, we definitely got to take those opportunities when they lie.
I add a comment. I'm representing the In-Home Services Advisory Committee for Yolo County today in place of Kate Laddish. And we had a presentation in July with Yolo County Transportation District about emergency preparedness, particularly concerned about people, as was mentioned, with disabilities that need help getting away quickly. I was thinking about getting people's attention out at the street and wondering if there's other ideas. For instance, if somebody had a flare, to put it off in the driveway near the street, or some sort of visible light, perhaps battery operated, that you could put attached to the mailbox if it's by the street. I had some other idea and I lost track of it right now, but things of that nature that would get more attention. I mean, certainly you could plant yourself out there when the paramedics or fire department staff are coming, but in my particular case, I had a son that was nonverbal, and if he were by himself, he would be certainly identified as somebody who would need assistance getting out. But so enhanced need for people that have different physical and developmental disabilities in case of an emergency.
Correct. And there are several out there. There's quite a few of them back east that even actually use a QR code to be able to post it on the outside of their premises. We're still trying to evaluate how secure those systems are. It would need a passcode to be able to access that data, so the fire department or sheriff officers, LEO officers would have that access. Even just a medallion. There's quite a few medallions that are out there. They're readily available. Let's say there's pets in the home, or that there's somebody that has that's autistic, for instance, that requires a little bit more finesse. Simple things like that that are definitely out there. We're constantly researching and evaluating. One thing that we're trying to go towards in at least our region would be assisting with Cwpp as well as Cwpp Valley Fire Department is maybe something that's that's dependent on if people are receptive to it, would be that database. So it could be an offline database. And then so when we have the zones that activate for getting people out of our specific regions, and OES calls for an evacuation, that we start moving towards having an offline data source that says, okay, out of zone 12, how many people are non-ambulatory? How many people have generator power? How many people do need water in these locations is invaluable. So we're still trying to figure out exactly how much necessity is needed. But further, what can we make as a program for program development for the future that is going to be really successful, easy, robust, and also fiscally responsible? So I think we can come up with something for the long-term future of it.
Damon, I have a question. I'm Rose Laval, Pleasant Valley Fire Safe Council. I have a question about databases that would be used by neighborhood groups like Fire Safe Council. One of the things we're trying to develop is the Pleasant Valley Fire Safe Council right now, as it stands, is pretty big. So we're trying to break up into neighborhoods and have like neighborhood captains and co-captains that would manage data just for a small group of homeowners, like 8 to 25 homeowners, but you know, looking for something that would be accessible to the captains, but not easily available to anyone else. Do you know anyone else, any other neighborhood groups that are using a database like that? Not just Excel, but something encrypted?
I actually had an opportunity to reach out to a municipality actually in Iowa, of all places. And it's right up against a pretty large municipality, rural areas as well. So it's roughly about 100,000 people. And so I reached out to them because I noticed that they had a system in place. And one of those concepts that they came up with is a less centric organizational structure. And they realized if you break it down into smaller clumps, if you're incapacitated or if those folks don't have those resources, it becomes very difficult to get that data out to other parties and other first responders. So that data has to really go up relatively high into an organizational structure, like what you have in Yolo County right now with the Fire Safe Council structure, so that they can then disseminate that information out to those local community members. So the information has to obviously come up, and then it has to also be disseminated down, because they actually had a natural disaster and they realized, wow, you know, these local community members in these small little municipalities, yeah, they had a lot of the information, but nobody was able to actually disseminate it over or move it over to other people and other parties. So just a word of caution that's out there. And he even advised me saying, okay, you know, it's great to have the individual community members having this data, but you also have to be able to share and work together as a team, because if not, it's all in vain, especially during a natural disaster where, you know, the fog of war sets in very, very quickly and nobody necessarily knows exactly, you know, what's happening in a given moment. The vote of confidence goes down exponentially after that.
Damon, it's Kurt over at OES.
Mm-hmm.
I just dropped a message in the chat for you. If you could send that over, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, not a problem at all, sir.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
Damon, just wanted to ask, so what are your next steps, or what are you looking for? Are there any pieces of information that you need to begin to complete this project? Are there any action items that we can do here for you today, or is this mostly informational?
No, this was for informational only. From the RCD reached out to us just to see, to give them additional information on this. This kind of comes into play is you know, as we go along, we're going to have shovel-made projects, shovel-ready projects that are going to be available. And this is just informational only.
Any
Hey,
other
Damon.
questions?
Sorry, this is Dana. You know, I noticed that it's on a Google platform. Maybe we could work with you on getting that into geospatial stuff that the CAD systems and stuff can feed to the fire departments and look at that integration as well. That way it's at the Emergency Operations Center and the fire departments have it and come up with that kind of back end so that if all of the individuals want to contribute their data and stuff, then we've got it.
Absolutely, Dana. The one that we currently use through TriTech automatically has obviously all that information that's on there in the notes section. Active 911 does have the ability to take all that data and put it into points, polygons, lines. I mean, we could break this stuff up, and we could also give OES a complete data dump of all that data too as well. Very modular system. It's just how much do we want to do, and how much do these individual communities wish to provide this information. So there's a lot of ways we can go with this, obviously, not only in Yolo County, but also Solano, Napa. It just depends on, how do we move forward with this?
Yeah, and just for people who are on the call that may not know it, obviously when there's a public safety power shutoff or any fire perimeter, something that I can draw a shape on a map, that actually gets distributed throughout all of the county departments. The second we have the shape, and so they look through their CalFresh databases, their women, infant, and children databases, the IHSS database, all of those other kind of special needs groups to kind of see who they should each reach out to as well, because those are all existing programs and things here. So all data is good data.
Hey, thanks, Damon. I appreciate it. Anybody that has any other questions that you think of later for Damon, just go ahead and email the group, and I'm sure it'll make its way to Damon. Thank you. Hey, if we can get to the CWPP project updates, please.
Yeah, so I took your agenda away, but the next item is update on DOD funding from OES.
Thank you, Tanya. I know everybody's looking forward to the monies that are supposedly coming in from via Dodd's office. The update I will tell you is there is no update, but I will tell everybody the same thing that I've been telling every person that's asked me from every different walk of life is if you think you have a project that is worthy of funding, make sure you get it into your particular fire safe council up to the county's fire safe council, or make sure that you are participating in the CWPP process to get your project onto our watch list in there as well. That way we can make sure that if we have the project identified, then we can at least start to track it. I will tell you, and everybody from Chief Ramirez and Lopez, who are the lead partners in this, as well as RCD, who is partnering with us in OES. What we'll tell you is that the more information that you provide to us as a whole, to the groups, whether it be the Fire Safe Council and or the steering committee of the CWPP, the better and the more likelihood that your projects will float closer to the top of that list. But keep in mind, the final decision that'll probably be made when the final decision is made, it'll be probably made from the Board of Supervisors level, based upon a list that's provided to them from this group, as well as so the fire safe councils and the CWPP group, based upon the quantitative and qualitative data that we come up with through the CWPP process. Now, with that being said, as Tanya and Heather both mentioned earlier, the total CWPP process will not be completed until about a year from now, but we suspect that between now and then we will actually see the monies come in from the DOD funding, and I refer to it as the DOD funding because there's no other way to describe those funds at this point in time. And if that comes in before we are done, then we will obviously address those issues accordingly based upon the prioritization of the projects based upon hazards, risks, and analysis of the data. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer it. Keep in mind, I don't have a lot of information because we don't have, the only hard and fast information that we have on the monies is it will go through a state agency through CalOES. That's all we have. We don't, and I hate to say that we don't even have a hard number as to how much money will find its way into the county. and or if it has parameters or controls put on it, or what the process that will be put on by the agency being CalES moving forward. So if you have any questions, go ahead. And Ron, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just going to just reiterate what you said. I asked the Capitol staff, I'm wearing my other hat now, my Senator Dodd hat.
Right.
And I asked the Capitol that same question a couple of days ago, and we are still sitting in limbo waiting for that magical release date. So as soon as I get it, I'll share it with you and the rest of the council.
And I appreciate you you chiming in, serving your other hat right now, Ron, because there's been a lot of people ask the question, and I just feel bad that I can't give them a hard answer. And and I know there's a lot of people in this meeting, as well as in other groups, that have just a desire to see projects move forward. And I can tell you from CalOES, or from Yolo OES, as well as RCD and the CWP committee and the fire safe councils, we want that nothing more than anybody else as well. So we're all in concert. And Ron, anything you would get in the future, we all will be looking forward to it.
Yep, and you'll get it first, because we're all are waiting for that release date, and so it's coming. The money's there. We just got to get our shovel-ready projects ready to go and see what happens. Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody on that? Neil, I see your hand is up.
Yes, let me unmute here. Kurt, could you clarify a little bit when you say you want a lot of detail in project proposals? We've been following the CWPP project form, and it basically just calls for an abstract as the narrative. Now, we can expand an abstract to be pages long if that would be what your advice is, but my sense was that you don't want more than a page there. Could you clarify what you would really like?
Say this, at this point, the abstract is adequate until we get a better idea of what the parameters will be set upon us. I would suspect, and Neil, you've been a big supporter of this whole process, and we appreciate that. And I suspect, a number of you, when the time comes and we start to get an idea of what that process looks like, and or how the money will be distributed, if you will, in terms of, is it based upon projects that were submitted for and not funded previously, or is this for new projects, et cetera? At that point, I would suspect that whether it be through the CWPP process or through the Fire Safe Council process, we will reach back to the folks that have submitted the abstracts and said, hey, what we'd like now is a little more clarity exactly what you're going to do. Do you have an EIR that needs to be completed? Do you have a dollar amount? Do you have quotes for the projects? Because one of the things that we were having discussions about is if it goes through CalOES and if it follows any of the current grant funding processes that do exist today as we sit here, which many of you may not be aware of, Dana and I, we deal with CalOES on a regular basis, and they have very strict parameters on how money can be spent, i.e. It would potentially require the need for multiple bids, a documentation to prove that the contractor has not been debarred, different things like that. So those are the kind of things that, Neil, I would suspect that at some point after the fact, we will probably be turning to the teams that are interested with projects to move forward, that will then ask those folks to provide some additional information. Anybody else? Anybody else want to hear me say it one more time? And I appreciate the inquiries. We'll let you know as soon as we know. I promise you. We want to get this money distributed as fast as anybody else. So, but by all means, if you have any questions, I'll drop my email again in the chat, and you're more than welcome to shoot me an email with regards to this or anything else for that matter. And other than that, Tanya.
Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, thank you.
Tanya, I had a question. I know that there was an issue with the Dropbox link. Maybe you could mention that to the crowd again, now that we have everybody on.
Yeah, so in the agenda that I sent out, I sent a couple of links to the Yolo County Quantitative Wildfire Risk Assessment document, and those links didn't work. Joaquin's been working behind the scenes and he can't get them to work, but that's okay. I tomorrow can send you those documents directly, so you don't have to do any links because you're not gonna mess with them. One is just a PowerPoint, which basically is an overview of what that is. And this is something that the steering committee worked on over the winter. And then there's a document, and it's almost done. There might be a few little tweaks, but that's something that the steering committee will look at. So sorry about that. My technology skills were not awesome. So with that, we can look at the project list. And as Kurt was saying, we would like to get information. Neil talked about the abstract. I have 3. So Joaquin, if you could drop in the hub site link into the chat, that's where you would go if you don't have it already. Scroll down to the bottom and fill out a form online, and then it gets sent to me as a PDF. If you don't want to do that, I can send you a Word document you can mess with, a blank one. But yeah, we got 3. So you guys ready to see my screen? This is an Excel document, and you've seen this before. It's minimally updated. So we broke the projects into the category of vegetation management. And you can see there's a lot of unknowns, and we have not done an official ranking yet, but we're ready to do that when we get our steering committee back together to take the first stab at it. Some of it is a little bit vague. We did a map, which I'll show you shortly. But what we have for shovel ready that we have, well, it's not for me to determine if they're shovel ready, but I'm pretty sure they are. And what we have submissions for is fuel reduction work along County Road 41A near Rumsey. And then the East Davis County project that you guys saw last month. And then I also got a nice talk about low-hanging fruit and access for West Winters to improve signage, also with an actual dollar amount figured out. So again, as Kurt said, do some more form filling out or Word doc tinkering, whatever you want. Just get that into the hopper and it'll be added to this list. Again, this is not super detailed because it's just an Excel doc for everyone to look at, but the details are in the abstract and et cetera, et cetera. So does that all make sense at the moment? Any questions about that? I'm sure there's tons of questions about that. I will point out that Heather and I talked today about getting a chipper program going. So that is would be a great thing to work. That'll do all, help with all our vegetation management projects, or most of them.
And Tanya, I'm sorry, will you be resending out that link once it becomes more active and accessible?
The which one is that?
The link to get into this, it was difficult to get into.
Oh, so the link, yeah, so that was the link that I sent out to the Qualitative Wildfire Risk Assessment, which is as if you remember, it was very heavy on graphs and maps, and it's not super user friendly, but Joaquin put the link into for the hub site and the project submittal form. Tracy dropped that in too. And that's the form that you would fill out to get your highlight here on this Excel doc. Does that make sense? Lots of stuff going on.
Got it. I did. I think I'm having trouble, maybe just me on that one too. I get an error when I click the one that Tracy just sent out as well.
Oh,
so
that's not good. Okay. If,
It's on the, it shows it on the RCD website. It just says error 404. So not sure what that.
I'm getting the same thing.
I just got that too. Let me recharge it. Let me share it again.
yeah, Joaquin put a different link in, try that one. It's a little bit above Tracy's.
Yeah, Joaquin put the main hub site link.
Right,
up.
but you just
Trying
scroll
to
down
put
to the bottom and then you click on the form.
Right, it's down at the bottom.
Mhm. Just think 5 years ago, we'd all be sitting around in a fire hall someplace. Okay. So any questions about this? This is a work in progress. It's super difficult. You know, I've had meetings with folks, which helps me, but it's good to have a form filled out to, you know, make it a little more solid.
So to Tanya and I were, you know, we talked about this earlier today, and so this list is got a lot of projects on it, but we don't have abstracts for most of these or dollar amounts or some specifics that may be helpful if geography is involved. So I just wanted to underscore that part of it. So this is not a list of all of the abstracts we've received. These are just, this is all we have information wise. Was I accurate with that statement, Tanya?
Mm-hmm.
So Heather, thank you and for pointing that out, because that's a really important piece that when it's on that larger list, that's a wish list.
Right.
When it's got an abstract to it, now it's a project. And then it can actually be considered, and it's almost for those of you that have had some grant experience, like a notice of intent type of a thing, where you put that abstract together. And then, you know, Kurt or somebody else may reach out to you for more information that'll allow you to get really down deep into the weeds. And the more information that you can get, though, really helpful. Any kind of bids that you can kind of begin to back it up with. So I don't know about you all, but every time I get a bid, it ends up being so much more expensive than I had originally envisioned. So that's always really helpful. So thanks for that, Heather.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Ramirez, for clarifying. That is a wish list. It's like throw everything up on that list, and then we have to sift it out. And of course, more information is better. So speaking of information, I'm going to share my screen again, and you will see the very beginnings of a project map. This will be eventually, once we get more information from you guys and can make it less coarse, then we can overlay it with our wildfire risk assessment map. So everyone can see this all right? And now I'm going to zoom in. So hang on. Here, for example, is up in Rumsey here is Jesse's submittal to clear the vegetation along County Road 41A. And if you click on that, it has the information from the spreadsheet in it. So that's kind of cool. Another nearby is the Grant Line Road project that Damon has been talking about. Now this is obviously not going to be super straight line, but just for sake of argument. And if you click on that, there's the Grant Line Road, Fire Break Road. And then the control type, access and suppression. So this is the beginnings of a tool. I know if you don't like the way your project looks on the map, then you can contact me and Amy, my GIS specialist colleague, and we'll make it better. But right now we were just, again, slapping things on here. You know, there's going to be gates along this road, and I definitely know I'll be getting a shape file from Damon at some point. A cool thing that's happening in the CAL FIRE is just getting.
Just, I think maybe it's my screen, but there's some delay between how you're describing what we're looking at and then when we see it. So just that red line that's coming down straight. What is that again? Is that?
I'm going to click on it. It's a Grant Line road that will be used as a fire
It's
break.
my screen.
Yeah, it's at the base
Sorry,
of
it's
Blue
my
Ridge.
screen, sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then what I did want to talk about that's actually happening, it is on our wish list, but is moving forward is CAL FIRE. Ben and Miguel are going to be pushing back some vegetation along County Road 53 and 78A. So people can go up and down during a fire at the same time. There might be residents evacuating, fire department going in. Right now, that's a really scary road with very few pullouts. Yeah, so that's happening regardless, which is fabulous. Let's see. I mean, you can look at maps forever, but down in Winters, we have our very cool prescribed burn along 128. Also happened this year. Will hopefully happen again next year. We talked about vegetation control along 128. So fires are less likely to be sparked by boaters dragging chains and setting off fireworks next to the road, which has happened. Yeah, so this is just our start. This again, here's fire gates along 128 at Bobcat Ranch. These were things that we could put on maps that were on the wish list that didn't take too much time since we don't have tons of information. So again, it's all a start, and this again will be overlaid with the wildfire risk assessment, which will help help us prioritize. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Bill Weisgerber here. I have a question.
Okay.
Tanya, are we submitting the lats and longs for the polygon on the GIS map, or are we just giving the information of the location to you or your GIS person to put that into the overall map? How's that submittal
Did
working?
she put that in? Yeah, that one you're on there. That one's
Okay,
kind of
okay.
easy because it's pretty obvious on the
Mm-hmm.
Google
Okay.
Earth shot what's what. But yeah,
Okay,
if you have a shape file you can send us, or if you just want to do a call and a screen share, then that's good too. But yeah,
Okay.
kind
Okay.
of eyeballed that one like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about that?
Thank you, Tanya.
So I think the other thing,
Sorry, Heather.
sorry, I'm major delay. I'm calling from Texas today. This is my dad's pasture behind me. And so I've got really weird internet. We talked about doing some follow-up on the project list. So over the next week or so, do you still want to do that, Tanya? In terms of following up for specific information?
Oh, for projects, you mean to have more than just a slash of a line on the map? Yeah, if you don't have good mapping skills and you have, you submitted your form, then you can call me and we'll put an accurate map on this, on the GIS as opposed to, dropping a point or a line. Yeah, that's definitely doable.
So are we going to be reaching out to folks for that information, or they need to call us?
Yeah, if you fill out a project form with no map, which is fine, that's perfectly fine. Then we'll work with you to put it on the map. If it's something mappable, like West Winters Fire Safe Council turned in the form for address signs, we're not going to map that. That would be too tedious on this map. If it makes sense, like the East Davis one to be on the map, then we'll put it on the map.
All right, is
Yeah.
there anything else for the CWPP steering committee project prioritization? All right, I just want to say thank you to Tanya and Heather and all of the staff that puts all the heavy lifting work into this project. The GISing is no joke. And the prioritization and following up with any of this, to really try and get some funding. Kurt and Dana particularly, I know you'll have some funding doors that get open, but it's a heavy task. And in a year or two from now, we're going to look back and see a lot of really neat projects done. So thanks ahead of time to everybody. So with that, we're coming to our adjournment, but we have a little bit of a scheduling problem for our next meeting as it falls right during the Thanksgiving break. So Tanya, you want to give some alternatives for that?
Yes, so yeah, as Chief Ramirez said, our next meeting is scheduled to be on the 24th of November, which happens to be the day before Thanksgiving. And I have a funny feeling, whatever you're doing, you probably don't want to be on a meeting at 4 p.m. So we have two options. We can bump it up a week and do it the 17th of November, or we can push it back a week and do it the 1st of December. And then maybe, you know, because then obviously after that comes Christmas, and maybe just have that be a meeting. I am going to be attempting to reconvene our CWPP steering committee, which had a lot of fire officials on it. And now that we got all this rain, you know, some of them are on this call, which is a great sign because I haven't seen some of them for a while. So we will be moving forward. But does anyone have any preference if you want to do more meetings or less with our holiday season coming upon us?
Less is more, Tanya.
You know, my sense is probably during the Christmas time and holiday time in general, it may be a difficult time for people to make adequate time to meet. There's a lot of competing interests for our times. So perhaps we could forego the December meeting and combine and maybe do the November meeting the week after or the week before, as you mentioned.
Right. If I was super snazzy, I would have put a poll together, but I didn't. But I guess I'll just say, does anyone really want to meet the 17th of November, or would you, or does December 1st sound good? Let's start off. Any November 17th votes?
I'll vote for November 17th.
Oh my gosh.
A reasonable time and agree with December might be difficult for folks.
Okay, or we can just do, I'm looking at my calendar now, or we can just do it in the middle and do December 1st and then meet again in early January.
Both Bill and I have a conflict on the 1st, on yet another committee that we're on.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh.
Sounds like the 17th may be the most
Okay, I
popular
see some
from
folks
informal
actually.
visual survey.
Yeah, or you can put it in the chat. I'm seeing no votes for the 1st of December. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. All right. So it sounds like December 17th, that might be a short meeting. I think
November.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Okay. Wow, that is not what whoever said less is more. Got shot down. Okay, so Wednesday the 17th at 4 p.m. Hopefully we'll have more projects filled out. And again, if you don't want to work online, that is totally fine. I can send you a Word document and you can do that way.
Can I add something
But
about
I
that?
understand folks don't want this December meeting. So I think it is less is more. That's what I was understanding.
Oh, we're skipping December
meeting.
altogether. Yeah, because okie dokie.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking, well, I wasn't thinking, but that would be, well, December 22nd would be our next scheduled meeting. So we can just bump it down.
Go into January. I think we're skipping December and
We're
going
skipping December.
into
Okay.
January. That's what I
So-
was kind of hearing here.
Tanya, does this require a motion?
I don't think so.
Okay.
we will be sending out minutes from this meeting and last meeting, and we'll vote on those in 3 weeks.
I wanted to add a little tease for the next meeting. I think we're going to get Megan Fitzgerald McGowan, who's the Firewise USA Program Manager, to come and present about how to create Firewise USA communities. She's the national leader on that.
That would be great. So now that we have our meeting set, you're going to reach out to her again. Great, thank you. Okay, well, I don't have any, you steering committee folks, be ready for an email. We'll do a doodle poll or something to try to figure out when our next meeting is going to be.
All right, if there's nothing else for the good of the order, anybody else, last information that you'd like to share? All right, thanks all for your time today, and we'll see you on November 17th.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.
Okay, thank you all so much for your time and energy.
Good job.